Hey everyone, welcome to the Soul Rehab Project. This is Sarah Saxby, and this is the podcast where we talk about lies. So we talk about the lies we tell ourselves and the lies that we have been told. And through the Soul Rehab Project is where I want to build my architects of truth-based living. That is my goal for everyone, to be leaders themselves. But in order to do that, in order to get past what we're about to experience in the upcoming months here, we need to become more aware. And, you know, you guys, I've lived my entire life not wanting to look like one of my biggest fears is like that people won't understand what I'm saying. People will think I'm crazy for what I'm saying. So for the longest time, you do, you get, if you don't go along with the official narrative of the world, we're going to talk about this, you're crazy, right? So what I really want to do is take the things that are going on, the things that most people aren't aware of, and bring it to you in a way where you're like, oh, okay, well, that kind of makes sense. So it's not like I'm in the back, stirring the cauldron, right? Because I don't want to be that. I want to bring information to you so it makes sense. So you kind of stop and think for a minute and be like, okay, well, that's interesting. I never thought of it that way. So that's my goal, is to take the things that are going on, the things that most people either you don't know or you do know and you don't want to say it because you're going to be called a conspiracy theorist, which is the most ridiculous thing in the world. A conspiracy theorist, that was a term that was made by the very people that are supporting the narrative, right? Because if you're going to go left of center, then you're crazy. Of course. Well, I mean, of course. So something that I want to talk about today is what's called inversion. And hopefully I can make this make sense in a way that doesn't seem too stirring up the cauldron. Right? And I have been a student of the Kabbalah Centre for over 20 years. And it's a deep spiritual wisdom that one of the things that I have taken from it is that it's how the world works, why we're here. It gives meaning to why you're here in this world, why human beings are here, what they're here to correct, and how the universe works. And one thing that I always heard from the teachers is that our world is an illusion, right? And you may have heard something like that too, like, right, all the world is a stage. You're living in a movie, the Matrix, all of these things. Most of us have heard something along those lines, and it varies as to the degree in which you believe that, right? Which is fine. But I'm going to explain something because I have always been told the world is an illusion, and that's fine. And you might sit there and say, okay, that resonates with me because that's the only explanation for all the fucked up shit that's going on, right? But it kind of doesn't bring it all together because you're like, okay, well, great. I'm admitting I'm in a movie. I'm admitting I'm in an illusion or in the Matrix or whatever. But now what? And I want to be the person to bring you the now what, because it's easy to say, and I like use this example, if you've ever read any of Eckhart Tolle's books, right? He's all about presence. And a lot of people talk about being present. And you're like, okay, I can get behind that. Okay, being present is always a good thing because you might not know what you miss. You might be introduced to someone and you don't remember what their name is, right? So you become more present. But I remember Eckhart Tolle saying something like, when you walk across the room, feel how the floor feels on your feet. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I've done that 5 times. Now what? There's a missing piece that's not connecting the dots. So it's like, I'm not saying that be more present isn't the right way to go, but most people are like, okay, I've done that. Now what? Because it's not working, because you're not given all of the information, and that's by design. It's by design that you're not given the links, because when you wake up, the illusion collapses. The more people wake up and start to see all the world is a stage, right? The less power that the people holding up that world, they don't have the power once we wake up. Okay? That makes sense. So the way that I'm going to explain it is I'm going to explain inversion. So, and I was going to search how, because I wasn't putting together how as above, so below, that whole thing. Because there's a connection there, but I'm not, it's not connecting for me. So I'm not going to talk about that. But a good way to look at it, inversion, is those of you that have seen Stranger Things, right? There's an upside down. And Stranger Things it's not fiction. Everything, most of what we're going through and most of what's going on behind the scenes is hidden in plain sight. And there's a reason for that too. But what I'm saying here is that everything in the world that we know, the world that we have been playing in, that we have been actors in, is inverted. So everything is upside down. And we are meant to believe that the upside down is real life. And it's painful. And you run into people and they're like, well, that's just the way life is. No, that's the way inverted life is. And the more you see the inversion, the more you see and become aware of the inversion, the more you will start living in what is the real world. We don't know what that is, because every single thing in our world is meant to keep us in the inverted world. And there's a lot here. But again, I'm going to try to make it make sense. And I have a bunch of stuff written down here so I'm going to, hopefully this will help you. So everything is like the opposite. And we live in that opposite, and we think it's real life. And ultimately it's painful. So here are the things that I'm talking about, and I know this will resonate with you. And remember, the more we start to see this, the more we open up, the less power that the inverted side has. Okay. And I do want to add also that you can quote me on this too, that things are going to go really freaking wild in the next, up until about April of 2026. It's going to get real crazy. And the world as we know it, the inverted world that we've been operating in, everything's going to change. There are going to be people who hold on to the inversion and double down into the inversion. And then there are going to be people who say, I see it. I don't know what I'm doing. What do I do next? And that's what the Soul Rehab Project is all about. That's why this exists. That's why I am doing what I'm doing right now. Okay. So how are things inverted? How are things the opposite of what they're supposed to be? So think about health and sickness. Medicine. Medicine is actually something that maintains disease instead of healing, right? We have food that's poisoned with chemicals and sugar and GMOs. It's sold as nutrition. So health has been inverted to sickness, and we go along with it, right? We're constantly looking for the disease. Tell me I have a disease so I can fix myself. It's inverted. That's not how health is. Like if you think about like plant medicine, you're told it's evil. Here, take the poison instead. It's backwards, right? So freedom and slavery. You take a job as like it's like this opportunity, but it's really you're a slave to wages. It's like debt is credit, but you go in debt and it's lifelong slavery. But we think that's normal life. You can look at love and abuse. I mean, how many people are speaking out, including myself, about the narcissistic relationships or the abusive relationships that we thought were love? It's opposite. I thought it was love. It was control. It's the opposite. So truth and conspiracy. If you speak truth, you're crazy. All of a sudden you're beaten down, right? If you, and this is a big one because you have to realize, and I'm going to talk about something called controlled opposition. I think I'm going to make another video about that. I don't want to have my mind spaghetti off into that because that's a whole nother thing. But if you think about people who do well on social media, and hear me tell you, I'm not saying that people aren't helpful in the things that they're doing, the things that they're selling, the things that they're influencing you on. I'm not saying that it's all bad, okay? But just hear me out. That if you are someone, if you see someone or you are someone that has millions of followers and your videos and your information does very well all the time, odds are you're not questioning the narrative that's out there. You're not questioning the inversion. You're not. You're not a threat to the current system, to the illusion. So the system is going to allow you to do well within it, right? Social media is part of this movie that we're in. And so when you play nice in the sandbox and you promote things that aren't threatening the narrative meaning the things that most of us follow willingly because we think it's life, you're going to do well on social media. But once you start speaking about the real issue underneath, the inversion, you get shadow banned, you get threatened, your account gets taken down. So notice that. When I started out on TikTok and I was talking about narcissistic abuse, my account did great. I mean, I went from 0 to 20-some thousand like that and had viral videos. That's because I wasn't really threatening anything. I was still playing nice. I wasn't really threatening the ultimate issue, which is that we are living in an inversion. So if I went back to talking about narcissistic abuse, I would do really well. And if you're just, and there are people that are exposing things and talking about things, but they're kind of like hitting this wall. And yes, it's important information to hear. You have people that are talking about what institutions are doing and what these companies are doing and what the government's doing, all this stuff. And that's great because that's waking people up to the bullshit. But it's falling short of what the real issue is. And that's inversion. That's we're living in an upside down world. So another thing is, so education and programming. Schools teach obedience. It's programming. It's not critical thought, right? Like history was rewritten to hide the real power structures. It's all controlled by the same top, by the people who are selling you the inverted reality. That's what it really is. The people up here are selling you the inverted reality. And you buy it hook, line, and sinker every time because you don't know it. You think it's real life. So schools, I mean, are you kidding me? Fuck are our kids learning? Absolutely fucking nothing that they're going to need to use. Nothing. They're being taught obedience. They're being taught to sit, don't speak up. You have kids that don't learn sitting in a box and just paying attention. And we're told there's something wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with them. Take them outside and let them run around and show them how to garden or something. You know what I mean? Like, come on. Schools teach obedience. It's programming. But what we're told is education. It's backwards. Wealth and poverty. The harder you work, the less you get to keep. It's backwards. Wealth is all concentrated in parasitic elites who literally produce nothing. It's backwards. Light and darkness. You have rituals masked as entertainment. Look at what you're watching. I mean, do you all remember like going to a concert in the 80s and it was literally like a band? It was a band. And now you go to a ritual. It's people in hoods and there's lighting and what the fuck are people wearing? Like these cloaks. You're going to a ritual. It's backwards. You're worshiping something as an idol. And while real, true wisdom is being mocked, think about marriage as a very sacred union. This is my favorite one. Marriage. First of all, marriage has turned into a multi-billion-dollar industry because all of a sudden now you have to spend thousands, tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars to get married. It's a sacred event between two people. Why do you have to spend thousands of dollars to do that? It's a huge industry, you guys, and we're being fucking laughed at. We're being laughed at. I'm not saying don't celebrate the love of two people, but how did it turn into an industry, a multi-billion-dollar industry? Make that one make sense. And my favorite part of all of this is in order to get married, you have to get a license. You have to pay the state for a license. Why? Do you know why? Because you're making the state a third party in your marriage, and now the state has control. And where do you think the money goes that they collect when you want a marriage license? Where do you think the money goes? To the love fund for the state? Where do you think it goes? It's backwards. It's backwards. It's not a sacred union. It's a fucking joke. And the people who are capitalizing on us getting married are laughing. Because what the fuck are we doing? We're paying the state in order to do it, and the money's going to the state love fund, and then we're spending thousands and thousands of dollars to do it. Why? It's a union. It's between you and this other person. And then holidays. Let's talk about holy days being turned into holidays. It's backwards. Now all of a sudden you have to buy a shit ton of decorations and gifts and all of this shit. Now again, I'm not saying don't get together with your family and friends and have, but how did it turn into a festival of consumption? It's something that used to be very deep and very meaningful. And now it's a fucking joke. Now we're, it's bunny rabbits and shit. What? How did this happen? We have gender confusion. That's a big one, right? Not starting that one, but you see what I'm saying? Think about language. We call it spelling, a spell. How about mourning? Why do you call it mourning? Because we're mourning when we wake up. As soon as you wake up, think about this. Why is it called mourning when you wake up? Because when you wake up into the inverted reality. And it is like mourning. mourning. You're mourning because you're waking up into an inverted reality. They call it a week. All week long, you're weak. Government. What's government mean? It means mind control. Television. They call it a program, right? Because you're being programmed. What does pharma mean? Sorcery. Poison. So I could go on forever, but my point in all of this, you guys, is that I want to show you how we're living. Those are some very basic things for you to just look at and go, oh my God, I never even thought about that. It's backwards. So at the very least, on a very seemingly normal level, think about how you are meant to believe. What's happening? Sorry. You're meant to believe that something very sacred and sovereign, you're meant to believe that the opposite is real life, but it's not. So start looking at those things that I just talked about and see how everything's being turned to make it something else. And that other thing, that upside down, is what keeps you sick. It's what keeps you sad. It keeps you poisoned. It keeps you numb. It keeps you blind. And that's how we operate. And all of a sudden now, like I said, things are going to be really, really intense here. Things are going to change, and our world as we know it is going to be operating differently. And you come back and in April, I want you to tell me that that's not true. April 2026. So let me know what you guys think about this. Can you see that we are living in an inverted reality? It goes way deeper than this, but this is just very, very light things that most people can recognize. So send me an email at sarah@strategiesforhappiness.com. I would love to hear your thoughts. If you reach out to me if you want to book me for a speaking engagement, if you want to set up a one-on-one with me. I do groups. I love getting people together in groups, and we can really start to hash out some things to become more aware of what's going on, to talk about the things that are unfolding in our world in the next 6, 7, 8 months, how we need to operate, how we need to support each other, and what that's going to look like on the other side. Visit strategiesforhappiness.com. I have a lot of information there. You can go to my TikTok, Sarah Saxby, and Instagram, Sarah Saxby72. I'm doing a lot of host. I can't stand when I say I'm being a guest on a lot of podcasts these days. So I'm very honored to be joining a lot of people that are talking about these things and have dedicated themselves to helping other people. And also just some other things that I have going on. But I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear if you want me to talk about anything in particular. I'm happy to do that. So here's to the next several months, thriving through them and coming out the other side sovereign.